to this computer. Today, I'm honoured to be joined by Dr. Huhana Hickey. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Hu. That's what we call you, Dr. Hu.
Oh, it is.
Who?
Yes.
Welcome to Takatāpui Talk.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me.
So before we begin today, how are you really feeling?
Cold, tired. No, I'm good. I'm good. I know summer's coming. I'm a little nervous with the heat that's over on the other side, but you know
Yes.
what? I live in God's own, so we'll work it out. Yeah.
Where are you joining us from today?
Takatāpui in Aotearoa, in Tamaki Makaurau. Yeah.
And so, and I think you might know a little bit about our kaupapa that we do at Takatāpui Talk. So it's really just to sort of share your life and resilience, and it could inspire someone rangatahi and also get anybody and whānau to understand, our lives and how incredible we are, as I always say. So whakapapa in childhood, tell us about where you were born and what your childhood was like.
Well, it's interesting. I was adopted. So in 1960s, it was transracial. So back in the day, a Ministry of Māori Affairs handled all Māori baby adoptions, right? However, if they could get away with saying we were Pākehā, they wouldn't put us through the ministry. So they changed my mother's ethnicity and changed mine and got away with it. So I ended up under the main welfare system. And my parents came and they were looking, but Mum specifically asked for a non-Māori baby. So I think that was a disappointment for her. Not Dad, he was fine with it, but Mum, yeah, she didn't want a Māori baby. She was adamant about it, apparently. So they adopted me. My birth mum and dad, well, she was young. She was 16 by the time she'd just turned 16. Dad was 19. Teenagers, they got jiggy with it. He was, stovepipe jeans, winkle picking shoes, the stovepipe hair.
Right.
He was the bad boy beside the jukebox. Mum was a lovely young girl, and she was quite a pretty young thing in her day. And, they got pregnant with me. And they sent her down to Taranaki. So I was born in Stratford. And I was early years with Toko, just down from there. And I was adopted by Murray and Maureen, and they became my mum and dad for that time. My aunt and uncle owned a pub in Toko. The story is we lived on a farm on the hill, and then there was a little pathway down. There was a railway line, a busy motorway, and apparently they would always catch me crawling, trying to get to the pub. And so they'd build the fence higher, and I'd have to climb. They caught me in the middle of the road one time, but crossing the railway lines. I don't know how I'm here, but it was the way it was. So born there.
What were you attracted to? The sounds, the noise,
I guess
the voices?
The pub. My auntie and uncle were there. I guess, attracted by, I don't know, maybe it was early signs that I was going to end up becoming an alcoholic. I don't know. It was alcoholism was strong in that on my mum's side of the family. So not surprised. But they were a good couple, humble couple. We were more equal back then, whereas they would be considered middle class today.
Okay.
But Dad would hold down 3 jobs at a time. They'd work hard. Mum priority was us. But in between those times, she'd do floral work, catering, cleaning. But her priority was her girls, which my little sister after me. And we went to New Plymouth after that, and I had a wonderful nana. That was Mum's mum. I'll never forget her. She was the light of my life. She passed when I was 9.
No.
But she was the one who protected me sometimes when her son was not my positive side of things. But, she was the one who gave me light. She was the one who played the memories of mahjong on the card table with her friends, and she'd make shortbread and give us a little bottle of drink and shortbread roll, and you can just, the images that come through.
Yeah.
They're the memories that are the beautiful memories as a young kid. They come with swimming in the ocean across the road with Nana. And, she was in her 70s. She was a fit old bird, golf. In fact, the 80-year-olds today are fitter than what a lot of us are. It was a different life. It was more mobile. And, no matter how hard she may have had it, It was a good life for them. They built from nothing. And I think that's what gave them their resilience. Whereas the Jones generation, which is after the boomer generation and before Gen X, we were very, we saw the post-war benefits more
Right.
than what, say, older generations did.
Mm.
And that's grown as each generation's come through to today, where it's really hard to see a kid that doesn't have some kind of entitlement in some way. You know, much easier with those ones. But even the hardships, even harder for some of them too. Just each generation has their own different journey.
What sort of child were you?
Well, I'm ADHD, we know now. Never knew that back then. All I can say is that apparently I turned my mother's hair white within a very short time.
Okay.
I just a busy kid. I climbed everywhere. I did everything. I think,
Yes.
you know, I mean, I've got photos of me as black as they are in the sun because there was no such thing as sunscreen,
No.
holding a glass of beer, and I'm still in my nappies, you know. That would horrify people today. Or the time as kids when we would go in our jammies to the local dairy with a note from mum for her cigarettes and get the milk and the bread, and then going home with that and not realizing the danger and anything. It was a different world.
Yeah,
A lot freer.
we don't realize that danger back then too. And even like us being driven home from parties as little
Yeah.
kids, you know, and my parents were drunk in the car and none of us had seatbelts on. You know, growing up in Rotorua, my father, you know, driving back from Orchid Falls, it's another suburb on the other side of the lake. You know, the road gets quite close to the lake, and he would drive into the lake and wake us up. You know, come on, you kids, get out of the car and help me push the car out. We just think it's kind of normal. Yeah, you know, and we survived. I mean, I'm 56. You know, it's like,
Well,
yeah, but
you know,
now,
we used to do pub crawls all the way to Auckland when we were visiting from Taranaki. It was like,
yes,
you know, we'd be sitting outside the pub at Rangariri,
yeah,
and they'd come out with a bottle of lemonade and a
for
packet of
us,
chippers,
yes,
and we're sitting there for like a couple of hours while they're downing the beers and the
yeah,
drinks, and then they'd come out wavering
yeah,
around thinking they're fine, get that car and you get all the way into Auckland.
go home.
You know,
Yeah.
or back then there were less loos around and mum always needed to pee. And so here we were, you know, doors are open with the big towels up so
Yeah,
you could
so
go and have
mum
a
could
quick
go to the
mummy.
loo. Yeah, it's true.
But
And
we also got to the free orchid shops and the little buy your own, you know, pick your
yes,
own or whatever.
mm,
And they were a lot cheaper then than access to food today,
mm,
like bruised fruit cheap. So that was a generation that bottled, that, you know, preserved everything. And
mm,
so they could make feasts out of nothing
mm.
because it was so much easier to get the cheaper stuff. And,
Yeah,
you know, we don't do that today. We throw it
no,
away.
yeah, we
It's not
do.
perfect.
And
And
cuts of meat that we were told were quite cheap
yeah,
then. Like, let's say a lamb shank, you know,
yeah.
you'd buy 10 of them for $2, and now they're like one for 15. You know.
Or even, I don't eat pork, but even, you know, pig
Yes.
trotters,
Yep.
which mum would get, and you'd get them cheap as chips, you know.
Mm.
And I think it was chicken that was expensive back then. You know, now chicken's a cheaper one, and
Yeah.
lamb and beef is impossible to access.
Impossible to access.
Mm,
You know, buying a whole side of lamb, my father used to, and that would last us a month, and he'd get it
yeah,
all cut up and roast and sausages for the month, put it in the deep
yeah,
freeze. I mean, that's virtually impossible to do that today. It really is, isn't it?
It's well, it is. I mean, yeah. I had an uncle at the stockyards in Taranaki,
Mm.
and so the whānau would buy a beast or whatever, you know, each year, and then they'd all cut it up and bag it up and divvy it. And we lived on that. Plus, up north, we would herd all the kids in the back of the Volkswagen
Mm.
without seatbelts, all
Mm.
curled up with our seat buckets and our shovels,
Yes.
and head off with no seatbelts into the beach
Yeah.
up on Northland, and we'd be collecting toheroa,
Oh,
you
yum.
know. And I always remember screaming because I'd go, my bloody shellfish is trying to eat me, while these big massive tongues would be running past you. But boy, did I enjoy that soup. I miss it so much, but we
Mm.
need to get those stocks back.
Yeah, no, we do need to get those
Mm,
stocks back. But certainly, I agree with you. It's almost like they sort of missed out, the generation of today,
mm,
and how, you know, even though it may have seemed quite illegal compared to today, we did it and we survived, and we're able to
Mm.
share these stories with each other and with absolute fondness,
You
aren't
know,
we?
pretending those little lollies that look like cigarettes, and we've been
Mm,
walking around downtown going, "Yeah, I'm mean, man." Or the outdoor stuff, which I don't
yeah,
see kids doing. Like, you know, we had no choice. My
no.
aunt and uncle ran the Uranui pub
Hmm.
years ago before it became the modern one. And there was a swing bridge going to Uranui Beach.
Hmm.
So we'd leave the pub, go down, and of course the boys would swing it, and the
Mm,
girls are screaming on the middle, you know, trying to get past it while it's swaying away like crazy. We did stupid stuff. You know, we
mm,
grab our bikes and all go off, and but we did it.
we
I
did it.
mean, we knew our neighbours. There
Yeah.
weren't the fences like today.
No.
And up in Parimoremo, where Dad was a prison officer, that oval,
Mm.
that's where I learnt the reo there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because most of the kids were Māori, and most of
Okay.
them spoke that ill. And we had
Yeah.
Mr. McKay at the school. But we'd go to the bush where there was a lake, we weren't little stream we weren't allowed to be at.
Hmm.
So we hooked up a rope and a tyre, and we were always there. So the parents would call you, you know, come on, dinner, come on, dinner. And you see
Mm,
this horde of kids running out of the forbidden zone,
mm,
going for a kite. And you'd often have an odd kid at your table. And no
mm.
one cared. They just fed them and they're
Yeah.
going home, you know?
Yeah. And
It
we've
was
been
more
home before.
fluid.
What, the lights came on? Is that when you were oh, that's when
Yep.
we were street lights. That's when
Yeah,
we
we
had
had to
been
be
on.
home when those street lights came on.
Yeah.
And it was safe, relatively. It was safe.
Relatively. No, well, we were all
It
safe
felt safe.
together. We knew to walk in the middle of the road, not on the edge when it was dark. I don't know what that meant, but I remember we always had to walk in the middle of the road. I don't know why we weren't allowed to walk close to the houses. I don't know what that. I just remember having
I
to
don't,
do
we were
that.
always taught to walk on the opposite side so we can see the cars coming to us,
Yeah.
so
Well,
we can
that
see
too.
the
Yeah, that's
flying,
probably in it. Yeah, and
you
as
know.
I would say, we survived, didn't we?
We did. And I
Mm,
can't say it was always easy. I mean, I had sickness in my lungs all the time. I'd cough up blood all the time,
right.
bronchitis, you know. And so there
Yes.
was all that, but there wasn't I mean, I grew up before all the vaccinations.
Mm,
So, you know, the measles and all of that. I have kids that ended up permanently blind or disabled in
mm.
some way because they didn't get the vaccine, but they got the measles, whatever it was.
Okay.
And, you know, I had friends that were older who'd been through polio.
Mm,
And so, you know, we dismiss today what I grew up seeing. And I'd rather prevent it than see it coming in. But,
of course.
you know, it is the way it is. But we
Yeah.
had a whole different way of looking at it.
Mm.
Um, oh,
'Cause
this weather helped.
who knows why you were coughing up blood? It could have been anything. You
You
might have
don't
had
know.
them, you know, who would have known?
Oh,
Yeah.
it could have been TB. We wouldn't
Yeah.
know in those days. It was, you know, you got sick and basically you had to be dying. I mean, mum never had the house warm. I mean, she'd open it up first thing in the morning, winter
Air it
or
out.
summer. Yeah,
Yes.
every
Yeah.
window,
Yeah.
every door, and we're sitting there going,
Yeah.
but
That's
you know,
true.
harden up, you know.
Yeah. We
There
were the
wasn't
same.
the excuses. It wasn't, oh, don't worry, little darling, you'll be right. It was, come on, get out there now. It's cold.
Mm.
So go and get dressed. Come and help me. You won't be
Yeah.
cold when you've pulled in the wood or whatever it is.
And it being winter now too, in Aotearoa, it gets very cold, -2,
Yeah.
-5, it could do, and the puddles were great because they were icy and we would jump in them, you know, like,
Yeah.
with no shoes on. It's just something that we did. I don't even remember my feet ever being cold. It's just that, well, we were children.
Yeah. Bare feet was the norm. I mean,
Yes.
you know, stick your foot in a hot cow patty,
Oh,
a
yeah,
fresh one.
that'll warm it up.
It did.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
and it was fun. It was fun, you know.
mm,
You know, then you get in there,
yes.
squelched around, but it
Yeah,
was
and you
fun.
would. It was fun. It's right. You just
Mm.
don't wash your feet with the hose when you got home. Such
Well, that's
incredible
it. We drank out of the hose too.
that too,
In fact, we
yes.
used the hose to cool down.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the luxuries of pools all the time. We just used
Mm.
a hose. You know, we
Um,
made our own entertainment because we didn't
yeah.
have TV. We
No.
didn't have computers. We didn't have
Yes.
any. I mean, the first black and white TV, I got an electric shock
Oh, did
because I
you?
was pulling out the thing. So I was about 4, but I remember my nana and I watching Felix the Cat
Mm,
together.
yes.
Good
Yeah.
memories, black and
Yeah.
white.
I
The
remember
first
our
man on
first,
the moon,
yes.
black and white.
And having our first television, I think we had the first colour television in our street, and some kids would
Oh,
come over and watch
flash.
that. Yeah, but my father rented it. I think he rented that television for like 15 years, you know? We very finally bought one. And you thought, well, I'm going to rent this because if something happens to it, it'll get replaced. Oh, okay.
Electronics, you see, it was still really new.
Yeah.
Now people get rid of it after 3 years and go and
Yeah, that's
replace it
right.
with something else, and it's still good.
That's why we've got an issue with rubbish now. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's another interview. So you've spoken publicly about discovering your whakapapa later on in life.
Yeah.
What was that journey like for you emotionally
Oh, wow.
when you found out, actually, I'm Māori?
I've always knew I was adopted.
Yeah.
So I put an ad in the paper after Josiah was born in
Mm.
86, and I put what I could find, which was,
Josiah, is that your son,
that's my
Josiah?
youngest boy.
Okay,
Yes,
yep.
he's my beautiful son. And I nearly died having him, and I couldn't have any more. I've got an older son that was a forced adoption. He lives in Australia, and I've got 2 beautiful grandsons with him. We're building our relationship. But with Josiah, he was born very early and troubles there. But um, what was I saying? Oh,
And
what
your
was the?
whakapapa when you
Oh,
discovered.
yes, yeah. So I put an ad in, and 3 months when he was 3 months old, they came over from Aussie, and they'd booked a motel room, and I got there early, and I was waiting, and I was sweating, nervous, and
Mm.
quite scared. I'd found some scant information, and that's how we connected. Next minute, this little round black woman, and I mean black, and the reason for that, her father was a Navajo code talker. Her grandfather was an Aboriginal tent boxer, and then there was the Māori through that whakapapa. My father was Sami from the Koivu tribe of
Your
Finland.
birth father.
Mm. And so I've actually got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed sister.
What?
Yeah, she's my baby sis. She's our
Yeah.
baby sis. I've met my whānau.
Yeah.
But they arrived. I saw her, then I saw him. He was taller. She was short. I think 4'9", barely making it 5 feet.
Mm.
And my baby brother, who was about 14 at the time, shy kid, hands in his pockets, tallish kid, looking pretty awkward as all teenagers do. And I thought, oh my God, is that my parents? Anyway, they came to the door, and that's how we met. And it was extremely emotional,
Yes.
and it took a turn. I did go over. Josiah was about 2. I went to Perth. They spent there 6 months, and it all fell apart. And I ended up hallucinating in the middle of the desert there, just out of Perth. They ran the catering companies for the mining camps. There was a lot of money in there,
Mm.
but there was a lot of stuff going on I couldn't understand, couldn't cope with. And I did. I went off. I don't even remember what I did, but I woke up in Perth in hospital.
Mm.
And a couple of days later, they gave me my son and walked away. I didn't see them for 12 more years.
Wow.
And I had to rebuild myself. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know. And it was my adoptive mum that bought my
Mhm.
ticket and got me home.
Mm-hmm.
She always said that they would disappoint me, but I don't know if it was because she was afraid. She was never going to lose me. I mean, she had her issues. No family is fully functional.
No, of course not.
Her side of the whānau is very much filled with alcoholism and,
Mm.
that sort of thing. And Dad's side, well, they were lovely. I
Mm.
can't, I think they might have had their issues. I don't know, but there was nothing that I saw other than that their tupuna was a constable who helped get parihaka
Mm.
and all of that happened. And then my hapu was there along with others. And I went to a reunion, and I said, when I heard it all, my son was going, now, Mum, smile, be happy. Because I was thinking, holy hell, what are these bastards here, their ancestor? And they're proud of them. It just seemed odd, but they were a lovely whānau. But he was rewarded with farmland of the Rahutu of Opanaki. And so that's where they came from. But
Right.
it was an interesting world growing up as a transracial child. I always knew I was adopted.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing for me was how different culturally I was. I never felt a belonging there.
Yeah, of
I
course.
always felt outside. Was it my ADHD? Was it my adoption?
Mm.
Was it my deep and felt? If you look at the Hemiro, I've
Mhm.
always seen them. I've always heard them. And Nana, when she died, I told my family, Nana's gone.
Mm.
2 seconds later, the phone
Oh,
call
okay.
confirmed it.
She had,
And
right.
then that night, she came to me and she said
Yes.
to me, don't worry, you'll always be safe with me.
Yeah.
And I always remember that. But it was hard. It was hard
Yes.
growing up, not knowing yourself. I had a lot of friends that were also adopted because it was quite big back then, lots of babies available.
Right.
And they were Māori and Pākehā, but one was Zane Jarvis. He's an opera singer now, one of our community of Takatāpui
Mm.
Talk, based in Australia. The other
Mhm.
was, what's his name? Campbell. Or he was another one. He's a famous hairdresser in London, and he gets like $2,000 to style long hair.
Right.
So
Jesus.
you're in the wrong place, really, in London,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want to make a fortune. He
Yeah.
made a fortune. I'm
Mm.
talking about he brought his adopted, he was also adopted, but he brought his adopted parents a $1 million house when they weren't $1 million. So
Okay.
a mansion, basically.
Yeah.
Um, so they had their stories. He
Mm.
grew up fine. Zane grew up where they adopted him to babysit the children and do the chores and things. And others hung themselves,
Mm.
killed themselves because their identity was,
Yeah, of
you
course.
become
Yeah,
screwed. And then,
this is what's so interesting about it, because
yeah,
trying to find your identity and how lost you, without even realizing you are sort of lost.
well,
And
it
then
wasn't help though.
how did your parents get to Perth? Do you know any of this connection? Or your
Um,
biological parents, I should say.
yeah, all I know is that I'll when I started, I joined Yahoo, a Tino Rangatiratanga group, Yahoo.
Okay.
And it was many years ago now, and I actually reached out. I didn't often comment, but I was learning and listening.
Mm,
I
mm,
reached out and said I was adopted, and I'm
mm.
seeking to try and understand who I
Okay.
am as a Māori woman.
Sure.
And I got told, well, you're not Māori, you were adopted, so you're not Māori anymore. And
Oh,
that
wow.
shocked me for a while.
Oh,
But
gosh.
well, it was Moana Jackson actually who I sat down with, and he said to me, "Your whakapapa identifies who you are, and you're Māori." And
Oh.
he put it in perspective, but it did take a long time because I was trying
Dr.
to
Moana
understand it.
Jackson. Wow.
Mm, he
We
was
love that
beautiful.
man. Oh, absolutely. Gosh.
He was gentle, but he also reminded me that my whakapapa no one can take away from you. The Adoption Act actively sought to erase our identity as Māori.
Oh, God.
Legally, I cannot access my mother's claims, my mother's whenua.
Mm,
I can't put my name on it or claim it because I'm adopted legally. My siblings can, and I've offered to set up a trust for them.
mm.
But there's a bit of fraction there with them
Yeah,
as well.
generally.
They're trying to sort themselves out. They had a pretty tumultuous upbringing. And but I can't. And it took a long time. So I went
Yeah.
when Yosaya was 2, I went to Parihaka.
Yeah.
My best friend's husband at that time had just been killed. He was a tutor,
Mm,
and he was doing his last search and rescue training the young guy
mm,
off the rigs off the platform in Taranaki.
mm.
And instead, normally when they winch them up, they winch them up over the ocean.
Okay.
They winced them up over the platform, and it snapped. And the young guy trainee became a tetraplegic, and unfortunately, my friend's hubby died instantly.
Right.
And but I went and met with his mother.
Mm,
Now I did the Pākehā thing. I'll be a couple of hours, see my boy, keep an eye on him.
mm,
6 hours later, I didn't know where the hell he was, and I was sitting there and it was going dark.
mm,
And it was the fact that she gave me my name. Now I know it's just Huhana means Susan,
mm.
but it meant more than that to me.
Yeah.
Huhana was my rebirth.
Mm,
For the first time, I identified as Māori.
mm,
And from that day, I grew. I began my healing and my growing
mm.
because I was pretty screwed up. I wasn't healthy for a long time. I stopped drinking, put myself in detox when I was 26. I haven't had a drink since. I did it because I had a 2-year-old and I was pissing around and being an idiot. And I took off, left him with his grandma, and came to Auckland. I was drinking hard and I was down under the bridge with the winos, the old guys, and they offered me methylated spirits to drink. And I looked at it and thought, you idiot, you're either going to be dead or you won't be. So I went up to the Auckland City Mission and
Okay.
detox there.
Right.
And then I put myself into Odyssey.
Yes.
And my son came and joined me at Odyssey.
Yeah.
I didn't graduate. I left early. They said you'll be back, but I went and put myself into counselling. I came out very sick and it just took a long time. I still didn't have any therapy around relationships and stuff. So got into a very violent relationship with a woman. So don't tell me women aren't violent towards women. Men are towards men too.
Sure.
And it was, and yeah, I got knocked unconscious, left with a brain injury at uni while I was 96. So many years later, but I just didn't know how to have relationships. So I decided I wouldn't have any more. And that's when my soulmate came into my world. Bugger. You know, they do. It's when it's the right time. When you give up and you think you're okay living on your own and you're really not looking for somebody, someone comes along.
That's when it happens. Yeah.
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 And I tried to avoid it.
Yes.
You know, we're now married 20-something years later.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we got
That's
married.
a milestone. That's beautiful.
Well, we were civilized first.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know.
Civil
Yeah.
union.
Yeah. Yes.
And then 2014, we did the big one with the civilizing of us. But, you know, and realizing I could never be civilized, we decided we'd get married as soon as it was legal. So 2014, we just did the registry office thing. Well, it always made me laugh. What do you mean civil?
Yeah, I know.
Civil.
Helen Clark was trying. She was
Yeah.
trying. She just knew the word marriage wasn't going to work at that time.
Oh, you know, the naysayers, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Marriage is ending now. It's going to be a world of depravity.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting.
For depravity, yeah. Yeah, same here. I live in the cities. So, so when did your disability, multiple sclerosis, when did that appear in your life?
Well, I was in Taranaki and I still had my boy there and he was about 6. And I went into Polytech and started doing nursing training.
Okay.
So about 90, 91, I think it was. And 92, I started having a walking stick and they wouldn't let me finish. So we didn't know why. I'd had surgeries and things and no one was coming up with answers. And
what did you think it was?
Well, I didn't know at the time. I was just pain, difficulty, you know, and they thought it was psychological, you know, I'm making it up. So I tried to deal with it without people thinking, because I thought, am I faking? I don't know. So, you know, I tried to sort of deal with it. But the dean of nursing said, good luck. I got into university. So I said, I'm going to uni in Waikato. And she said, good luck, but you're not that bright. Oh. Well, the first year, I got 3 A's, 2 B's.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had 8 surgeries. One of them was a hysterectomy. So, and then I was raising my son on my own. I also had my violent partner who 3 years later beat the shit out of me and knocked me unconscious. And her son as well. He was a teenager. But I just didn't know I had that level of intelligence. And I haven't looked back. Schools failed me. But university made me realize I could do things and grow and learn. And I loved it. Won a scholarship in the first year. Went from thinking about I'd be a social worker like my dad had been. He'd passed by then. And then I realized, and I got a scholarship with IRD. Wow. So I went and studied law as well. And so I came out with a Bachelor of Social Sciences and a Bachelor of Laws. Wow. And so, you know, I was doing okay. And then I had a little break and then started. But
you still didn't know what this pain was.
No.
And where this was. Wow.
Well, I saw doctors. I saw everyone. It wasn't until the beating in 96 where I saw the neurologist.
And this had
And
started about 91, did you say?
well, yeah, it started about 91,
Yeah.
but no one was
Yeah, yeah,
interested in
yeah. I know.
exploring.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I was
So
told I would never
5
get an
years
MRI.
later,
Yeah.
living with that pain, traveling, getting 2 degrees. Yeah.
On
Wow.
crutches. I was in a manual by that stage.
Wow.
Um, and then the brain injury, I saw Craven, the neurologist,
Yes.
and he looked at me and did some tests and he said, I think you've got MS. I don't think you've got a brain injury only. But what happened, I lost the ACC and ended up with 5 years having to recover with a brain injury. By
Right.
the time I saw the hospital specialist, it was 5 years later.
Oh my
And he
God.
looked at me. I'd started my PhD.
Yeah.
He
Your
looked at me and
PhD.
said, well, you're doing really well. And I thought,
I'm sorry for laughing, but I'm like, yeah, of course. She was starting a PhD.
well, no, I'd gone, but prior to the beating, I'd gone from being an A student to a
Right.
D.
Oh,
And it was the dean of the law school who got me back. And because all the others, I mean, they all said to me, oh, why don't my support person, the law lecturer, said, oh, you should quit. And then I had Margaret Bedgood and Margaret Wilson. They said no. So they set me tasks. And I got I could do 3 papers, but I had to go a certain grade. And I got there with 0.5% more.
Mm.
And that kept happening till I got right up there. Ended up with a master's in laws with first class honours with distinction.
Right.
And then but it took a good friend of mine who was going through law school with me, who taught me how to read and write again.
Okay.
So I had to use tools, like I would record things, and today I could just load it into AI and I'd be
Sure.
fine. I could get it all done.
Yeah.
But I had to do it all manually. I can't. Today I still don't understand what I read unless I read it first, then I read it again and break it down, and then I can understand it. So, modern technology can read it to me while I lie down or whatever. Much easier.
Yeah.
But then I had to work out, well, that relationship went to shit. I wasn't going to get into any more.
Yeah.
And I did. And that one wasn't that great either. And then I said, no. And I'd been friends with my wife for like 4 or 5 years. We were good mates. So she was a friend.
Yeah.
Now, friends are dangerous to turn into love with because, we went off to a league, Māori Women's Welfare League meeting, and we were sitting there and I kind of fell asleep on his shoulder, really. And that did it. That did it for us. Yeah, there was no going back.
And you were still in crutches then?
I was in my chair by then.
in your chair
96,
by
I ended up from a manual chair into a power chair.
Okay.
But they still wouldn't. They still said, no, we're never going to give you an MRI. You're making it up. It's all in your head.
Oh,
Got
wow.
my job in Auckland, moved to Auckland, 2008, worked as the inaugural solicitor for Auckland Disability Law. And in 2010, I had a minor car accident. I'll tell you why. The cabbage tree moved.
Oh.
I didn't move. I was putting the car out. The cabbage tree moved. Ended up with shoulder and neck injuries. So I went to a top sports specialist and he did an MRI in the private clinic. So they're a lot tighter. And he goes, you've got MS.
I'm
And
sorry.
look,
I'm sorry. So they would never do an MRI over
that
all
was what,
these years
yes, this is
because they
2010.
thought you were making it up. Wow.
Yeah. So I see this guy get the MRI. He believes it is. And he said to me, he contacted the head neurologist and told him. And the head neurologist in a letter told everyone off and said to the neuroradiologist, look at these scans without the bias. And they did. And
Bias.
yeah, well, then they referred
What's
me to
the bias? Oh,
I'm a
sorry.
Māori woman.
Oh, God.
And I'll tell you why in a mo. I hooked up with Jennifer Pereira, who was my who's my neurologist. She's a specialist in MS. Met with her. She didn't believe I had MS either. So I've spent years on this journey. It was MS-like, but they wouldn't diagnose it. Now, there's a piece of research that Sir Mason Jury was a part of the team. I found it. Don't tell a researcher that they're not something.
Right.
So I went and had a look. And we do get MS, but at 2.5 times less than non-Māori. It's the first positive stat I've ever had. And why did I have to be part of it?
Yeah.
But I have a niece with MS and I have an uncle with MS.
Oh,
My
so
niece has,
it's in your whakapapa.
it is. And anyway, so They still didn't, buy it until this year.
What?
So it's taken over 30 years for a diagnosis.
Let's just sit
And
with that for a minute.
they
Good
have
news.
finally, I've got the medical thing from Jennifer from last year, and it says that I have primary progressive relapsing multiple sclerosis.
So if they had diagnosed you correctly in the beginning,
I'd still be walking.
no,
I would still be functioning. I would not be in a wheelchair with massive body spasms I've got a hiatus hernia that's been pushed forward, and they won't operate unless it pops through my stomach muscle and they're forced to operate. And because the body spasms are getting more violent, it's really hard to keep that down.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things happening. I'm
Sure.
philosophical about it. I'm terrified of this government for the next 3 years if they do anything to our health system further.
Yes.
I wish they would. It can't be privatized. We're not that type of country. We have an innate right to health. We have a right to housing. Oh, here's the lawyer and me coming out again. We have a right to live a decent life without prejudice. And the medicalization of everything, it's compartmentalized in the Pākehā world. So for them, they had these statistics and they stuck to it stubbornly. If I ended up in Middlemore with a flare-up where I needed to go into hospital, the visiting neurologist, because they don't have one there, comes in, washes his hands. It's always a male. It's never mine. And he looks at me and he goes, I'm not treating you, and then walks out. Then I get the medical staff coming in. They go, can we come in? I said, yes, sure. Why not? And then they apologize. They don't know what to do. They get embarrassed. But that's the quality of our care. You are judged regardless if you're Māori. And of course, if I was still walking, they could have treated me. But because the diagnosis didn't come till now, there's no treatment.
No.
So I'm condemned to a
Suffer.
progression. Well, I'm not going to let myself
No.
suffer.
No. But yeah, I suppose I shouldn't be so.
I'm growing old disgracefully.
Yeah,
I'm going to give everyone bloody hell as long as I can.
And you can. You're allowed to.
I'm going to live every part of it. Part of that reason is Buddhism teaches me
Yes.
that suffering teaches us empathy and compassion for others. In some ways, I'm grateful to Io, to my atua, that have given me this gift. And I call it a taonga because if you think about the history of disability in Māori world compared to the Pākehā world, look at it. Go no further than Hine Wehemohi and her daughter, Hine Rakotaru. I mean, her daughter is significantly disabled, CP, non-verbal, walk, all of that, 24/7 care. But her daughter is her muse. She's her taonga. She's never seen her as a burden, as a deficit. In fact, it's the beauty of that that leaves with me every day. When things get hard, I think about that and the way they love her with a passion, that because she is a gift to them. The Pākehā world, they see us as a burden. See, traditionally, prior to the Bible coming in and teaching the Old Testament to our people back then, and of course the whole treatment of our tapu noa systems where that was challenged, it impacted when people were exposed to that religious element. And in particular, Deuteronomy 21, which states that we carry the many sins of our ancestors. So in Māori world, that's a makutu or a curse or a hara. And we never thought like that beforehand. Yes, we did have that in small ways. But if you were born disabled and not so severe that you were going to survive, they just accepted it as normal. So if you were blind, for instance, you learnt, whakapapa, you learnt knowledge because you don't have all that memory of eyes, of sight. So they became our keepers of such knowledge. Or meri massage, if they had a gift where they could read every muscle without having to look at it. If you were deaf, you were the scouts, the silent ones that could move through things without noise. And you had your own forms of sight. Learning disabled, or what we used to call intellectually disabled, our learning disabled were caregivers, they were gardeners, they were even warriors and
Mm.
swimmers. We worked to people's strength. That
Mm.
is why ADHD wasn't an issue. If you had a hautatu, you knew exactly, the kaumātua knew what
Mm.
they needed to do for that person to bring that around positively.
Yes.
Whereas in schools today, you have to be silent and still.
Mm.
So all our young ADHD kids got the strap all the time,
Mm.
got beaten all the time. Now today they get, now they got a party that wants to bring back punishment,
Mm.
where the predominant number of them are neurodiverse in some way or living in severe poverty and in abuse. So what's their punishment going to do for that? It's
Mm.
going to make it worse on that person, where they become another generation exposed to violence and hate.
Mm.
And we don't need that for our kids,
No, we don't. We really
We
don't.
don't. And all of them have a right to
Mm.
be there. We've got a lot of neurodiverse mokopuna
Yeah.
in the in-laws. It's the in-laws side, not my side of the
Sure.
thing. My whānau. I
Yeah.
mean, well, I'm the ADHD side, but the others are all theirs. No. But there's a lot of autism that sits in there. And we've got one whānau where her kids have never received special cares or supports,
Mm-hmm.
but they're far north. They have a farm. The oldest one who now works, his uncle takes him to the build site because he's got a linear obsession. So he's really good with doing straight lines and nailing straight. And he's a good worker,
Mm.
but he can't spend his own money understanding the value. He's barely verbal. But
Mm-hmm.
the whānau don't look at that. They look at his strengths. So he works around the farm, works on the building sites with the uncle. That's his strengths. And
Yeah.
so what we have to do is find their strengths and bring them forward.
Yes.
So for me, a lot of it was, my adoptive whānau kept trying to tell me to hide my disabilities. We can only go so far with hiding.
Mm.
And the reality is I couldn't anymore. And as it progresses, it frightens people. I know it frightens my dear wife. And she's worried. But I'm looking at them going, don't. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And I want to feel every part of that journey
Mm.
because I learn every day. And that's the difference.
Mm.
You can't. Suffering is such a wrought word. They use it
is.
to justify euthanasia.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us as disabled don't want to call it suffering. We're not suffering.
No.
I do suffer fools, but I
Yep.
don't suffer fools. But,
Yeah.
We're not suffering. But the hardship for us comes from when the government cut DSS funding or they cut our disability services and supports. That's the issue.
Has this still happened? Is this what has happened?
Yes.
Okay.
And with the bill that Upston has brought in, we've said no. It's heavily flawed. They want whānau to do all the caregiving, which traditionally they did do. But in today's world, it was easier 100 years ago than it is today.
Well, financially,
Because
it was a lot
working.
easier back then. You can't do it financially right now. Somebody
No.
cannot not work.
Well,
You can't.
this is what they're doing though, because I know one of my supports, her daughter is 18, right? They've had her grand uncle there since she was a baby. He's learning disabled and he's going through cancer at the moment. It's second journey in cancer, blood cancer.
Right.
And so she's his full-time carer, right? Normally, if you're agreed to be a full-time carer for that period of time, she's going to uni next year, but he needed her now. So normally you go on the SLP carer's benefit because that's what they offer. They've declined her and put her on job seekers because she's 18. And they said, no, you can't. So they're forcing people onto the job seeker that they want to take people off. And this is wrong.
It is. Well, he
if
needs
our
full-time care, especially
Well, it's
from.
normal for us.
Yeah,
We
yes.
do this. We get one of the grandkids to come and look after nanny or koro. And so if they've got at least some money,
Yeah.
they've got to live. They've
Yeah,
got to
they've
pay
got
their
to
own
live.
life and bills
Yes.
and clothes and things.
That was the point that I was saying. You can't not work. You can't afford it.
But they don't connect because these people are overpaid, bloated people,
Yes.
career politicians
Making
who
these
are
decisions for
feasting
us.
off us.
Yes. Yeah.
They're feeding off us and they moan at us. And yet they get 52,000 a year just in subsidies to rent their own home that they own out.
Yeah.
And yet they moan about a person getting 16 to 20,000 a year just to do the basics.
Just to do the basics for somebody, for someone that
Yeah.
they're caring for. And, also someone that you're caring for, if you're getting someone to care for you anyway, you've got to know and like and trust them and love them. You have to.
Yeah. And
Because you're in
their
a very vulnerable position. So, of course, you've got to know and like and love that person.
I'm not going to have some stranger wiping my ass.
Absolutely. Well, that's right.
You're not special, man. I got the who. This is my TARDIS, and it's bigger on the inside.
And I'm so loving this kōrero that we've had today, because I've had so many questions, but you have segued into every single one of them. Which I
That
love.
a lot of questions. I'm like,
no,
oh my
I
God,
know,
how
I
am
did
I
send
going to
them to
repeat
you, but
those?
no, you covered everything.
Oh,
And
good.
and I'm just so appreciative for it, because these are things that we need to hear about, really, don't we, in our stories? I'm still in shock that you've finally been diagnosed after all this time, and it's specifically because of who you are and how you being Māori, that you were, I don't know, neglected, like just forgotten about, and that, no, you don't, you're just making it up, but you were never making it up. And then it gets worse that, if you hadn't been diagnosed at the correct time, you would be walking today.
Well, I think it's compounded because also of historical significance. Ivan
Yes.
Watkins Dowell had a factory on the waterfront on Breakwater Beach in New Plymouth, right by Mount Paratutu, all of those areas. My nana lived across the road from there. My mother worked there. We ran around the drums. Ivan Watkins Dowell made dioxin, 2,4,5-T, Agent Orange for the older ones who might know. And they used to spray it on the farms until 1965. So I was sprayed with it on the farms.
Okay.
When we were in the Breakwater Beach, we would be swimming near the factory. When my mother worked in the catering, in the kitchens at the factory, after school, we would run around the drums. Okay. Many of them have been buried where we don't know where, toxic leakage happening. And yet these governments successively have denied claims by workers and families of Ivan Watkins Dowell. And so you've got a bunch of people out there. We don't know if that's what the prevailing cause is. There's a whole lot of speculation. I know my baby, 30, 40-year-old, my little hairy beastie boy, he has other disabilities and health issues too. Yeah. And they're very similar. I'm hoping he hasn't got MS, but there is a chance he could have. But, he will find his own journey out that way. But this is the thing. We try. Society blames us for being poor, for having bad health, diet, whatever. Yes, I'm fat. I barely eat, but I have I've had to have a lot of steroids over the decades for asthma, for autoimmune issues.
Can't move.
No, you develop a moon face, and boy, the appetite, you might as well just say, I am a beast when it comes to using steroids and food. But I'm not anymore because I can't. This hernia is pushing itself forward and impacting on things. So, I don't take sugar in any way, just protein, vegetables, and herbal teas in my water. That's it. Yeah. And it's boring as shit. At least when I was younger, I had a bit of fun.
Well,
when I was nursing, it was always the old people talking about needing their prunes and all this. And I kept thinking, God, they obsess a lot over toilets, don't they? Guess what?
Yeah, I just think now, that's where you are. So, looking back over your life, is there anything you would have done differently?
If I'd known what I could have been, I always had a love for anatomy and physiology. I think I would have made a good doctor.
Yes, I think you would have.
I went and worked where the cadavers and that were years ago, body parts in Dunedin Medical School, was labelling that. And I saw some great things in those jars, but it's always fascinated me how the body operates. Hence why when my specialists do tell me things, I go and do some research to see if they're right or not. But it's always fascinated me. But what frustrates me most of all is how the medical profession would do things and not talk to you about them. So having Josiah at 24, I was a single person. The doctors barely talk to you. They gave you the basics. But if my husband was there,
Yeah, right.
you know,
Okay.
whatever,
Yeah,
husband. I
sure.
mean, these were drunk episodes. I don't remember how these kids were conceived, but I was fighting myself, It's but it was they wouldn't talk to you. So the day I had Josiah, it was 7.5 weeks early. And we just had the doctor rounds and I was saying, oh, you better rest up. So what did we do? All these big wobbly ladies ran down to the tuck shop because we were in National Women's back then and they had a tuck shop on the ground floor of Green Lane. Grabbed our snacks and our stuff and we kept running up. 10 minutes later, I started having seizures. I went eclamptic. So I had 15 minutes to live.
Okay.
And I survived.
Yes.
And I remember I was dying. I remember saying to Atua, to Eo at the time, I'm ready to go. But because life for me, I'm ready to go whenever it's time to go. However, I said, if my son needs me, let me stay. I woke up in intensive care. Ah, shit. Bloody hell.
So what brings you your greatest joy?
My moko, my mokos, I've got my baby one. The older one, sadly, his mother won't let me have contact because he's got 2 boys to 2 different wives. The second wife is Filipino.
Right.
First wife, Pākehā woman, she took it the hard way. But I'm sad because Javier has learning disabilities and others as well, and I could have helped him, but
Absolutely, yeah.
I
Yeah,
will
you
one
could have helped
day. I'll
in many
see him.
ways. In many
But
ways.
my baby, Kobe, half Filipino and all that other stuff, this kid was reading and writing at the age of 4.
Right.
He's 8. He's representing his school in cross country and track. And he's he does jujitsu, swimming, rugby, soccer, and he loves the haka. And he sends me videos, and he's doing the haka. And then the other day he was doing the Michael Jackson, but I think it's because he liked grabbing his crotch all the time. He's funny, he's cute, and can't wait to see him. I haven't seen him since before COVID because the cuts to the budgets,
Right.
to our budgets and that. I couldn't take caregivers with me.
Yeah.
And so we haven't been able to go back. And I still can't until I know what they're planning. So I'm hoping we can get them over here next year. It's time.
That is just beautiful. So what are you still dreaming about? As an Aquarian, we dream.
Oh, no. World peace. Well, I am, but God, I'm writing a series of rap or poetry in a rap kind of rhythm.
Beautiful.
I've done one around road safety, and I've done the illustrations, and I'm thinking I'd like to do a series of them with the pictures. AI did some amazing images, cartoon images for me. But other than that, I've written the poems and things. I've done road safety. I want to do things like swim safety, how to be safe around strangers, how to be safe around whānau, how to, eating good food, choices that we make. I want to do a series of them, but in poetry form, because kids read poetry and the pictures. And I want it in te reo. And also I want to do it in a way that we can do it so a blind person can click on a QR code and get the book in audio description for them, that sort of thing. So I'm working on it at the moment. That's my dream.
Yeah.
People have said write a book, so I'm going to do it, but it's
dream, though. What a wonderful dream. And, interesting, let's just talk about AI for 1 second. It's when people go, well, it does everything for you. It actually doesn't.
No.
Without your idea or your concept or you're putting it into your sketch or it can't create anything. It has no idea what you're thinking. They're not mind readers.
It got all the pictures wrong at the beginning. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. I know the risks that are there. Well, I don't use it for my writing, though. Because,
no, I don't either.
But I use it for my ideas.
Yes.
I go, look, what do you think about this? And I'm going, okay. And then I'll research it myself because it may come up with something I hadn't thought of. And then I write. And I've been doing that with Substack and I'm getting articles out, which is good.
sometimes I'll write so quickly that I
Yeah,
miss words out too. So it does need to clean things up for me. But
yeah,
otherwise it won't know how to speak like me, because then it's like, who's written this? So in that way, it is very
yeah.
important. I like it. It has helped me a lot. Something that would take me half a day to write, especially scripts. It can really pull out
Mm.
some great questions. And I'm like, yeah, I would have asked that. That's great. Thank you.
I
Get
think
the ball.
I think we're looking at another revolution in the film industry soon too.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And
are.
I mean, it's not unusual. Remember photography, how that evolved over time.
True.
Remember
Yes.
also the film industry, from silent movies to sound to color
Mm-hmm.
to HDMI to
Yep.
all sorts of things.
Yes.
And AI, I've watched some of those shorts. Man, I mean, they're annoying stories because they're always repetitive, and that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
they
yeah,
try and get you.
yeah.
But I watch it because I'm fascinated by how they view how
Mhm.
the AI. But the AI is useless without us.
Yep.
However, like any tool, it is something that has risks.
Mhm.
But then we said that about computers when
Mm.
they first came out.
And the
Social
internet.
media's had risks and
Mhm.
problems. We've seen that. So we need to learn to live with these things.
Mhm.
And yes, they are taking away jobs. So we need to look at who's making the profits, who's making these things. That wealth needs to be shared,
Mm.
because there is, I mean, it's not our fault that they're getting rid of our jobs.
No.
It's not our fault. So how do we do this where everyone benefits? Universal income?
Mhm.
Or we go, down other roads? It's just, we're going to have to think.
Yeah.
When I ask my muckles what's their dream job,
Mm.
influencer.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna be a YouTuber, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, they can't even, I mean,
Yeah.
sadly, they can't
Sadly.
even read English yet.
Yes.
And these are teenagers.
Mm.
They went through te reo class, they went through kura,
Mm.
but the kura didn't teach them English. So
Right.
they don't have a bilingual, whereas
Oh,
their
okay.
parents do, and they all
Right.
went through kura and
Mm.
they're all bilingual, but this generation aren't.
Mm.
Seems to be more on te reo and less on, I mean, I don't have an issue with that,
No,
but I
I
think there has to be a balance.
I think there has to be a balance, and I think, it's better to be bilingual or trilingual than it
Yes.
is just one. So it's probably really important, I imagine. I think a lot of our kura kaupapa here in Rotorua, they don't speak Pākehā, but they will speak Spanish, or,
Yeah.
they are trilingual and they are speaking more English at home, because you do need to speak English, unfortunately. It is
It's
what it
here,
is, isn't it? Yeah.
but it's not really English. I mean, it's the wrong word. It's New Zealand English.
Yeah, it's New
It,
Zealand English. Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
Americans, they even spell things wrong, but they call
Mm.
it, they don't even think, they call it English, and then they don't understand why the English don't have the same framing or the same spelling. But
Yeah.
you've got to explain to them the English language picks up the local language as it
Yes.
goes around.
Yeah,
So
it does. That's
we've
right.
got that Kiwi slang, Aussies have their slang, UK, everyone does. What I love about Wales and all those, Ireland and that, is that they're bringing their own Celtic language in,
Mm.
as well as the English. And if we could only do that without the haters constantly hating, that would be beautiful.
There's so much hate, isn't there? Gosh,
There's no
I
need for
no,
it.
there is no need for it.
What a
There is
waste
not.
of energy, to be
Yeah, and time.
honest.
Yes. So this, I've just had the most incredible conversation with you. Our audience also doesn't know that I spoke to you for about an hour before we before we actually started our interview. So this part of my interview, I do this thing called Fire 5 Questions.
Okay.
And the sort of thing that you don't think, too much, or like, I'd love the first thing that came to your head. And I know that's
You
a
got
great
it.
challenge for an Aquarian person.
Oh
If
no,
you,
maybe ADHD as well, so I'm pretty impulsive. So yeah.
if you could have a superpower, what would that be?
Oh God. Finding money, collecting gold.
Yes.
No. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, the power of persuasion.
Yeah.
That I could convince Seymour and Luxon and Peters that they're wrong just
Yes.
with my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are wrong.
Well, they need to speak to you directly, I think. When life feels heavy, where do you find your peace?
In the bush or by the ocean or at the Buddhist temple.
Yeah.
Go somewhere where there's nature
Yes.
to touch and feel, and then I meditate.
Who is the one person who's changed your life?
There's no one person. There's no
I
one.
think,
There've been so many wahine and
yeah,
tāne that have come in my life over my lifetime at times
yes.
when I needed them.
As you evolved, hey, I
Mm.
understand.
But probably the one who did change my life would be my wife.
Your wife.
Yeah.
If you could sit beside your younger self for 5 minutes, what would you say?
Oh, I'll be bloody lecturing her. The hell. Hold back your bloody behaviour, girl. You know, just control that ADHD a little more. Concentrate, focus. And no, stop being dyscalculic and not being able to understand maths. You can do it. You can do it. No, just don't go down that road of alcohol and drugs that are going to destroy your life. And, you know, make some better decisions. And you don't need a man. Only the thing is, if I said that to my 10-year-old, I wouldn't have my sons again
Yeah.
because I'd know and I wouldn't do it. So I'd have to
Yeah.
sacrifice them.
Yeah. So, who knows who you would be today, really, to
Well,
tell the truth.
exactly.
Yeah. What gives you hope for our Takatāpui rainbow communities?
Oh, tangata teriti, that generation. Identity. When tangata teriti was framed as a term, I watched the rangatahi in the march earlier this year, but I watched them and they were fired up. I've noticed, like, when I talked about the adopted kids in my generation, they didn't have an identity. I didn't. If I knew I was tangata teriti, at least until I knew I was Māori, if I knew that, I would feel a part of this country, a part of this land, and I would fight for it as hard as Māori fight for it. And that is the difference. Tangata teriti, I think, is the... And I think that's where I'm watching. They're more confident. They're more outright. They're talking. They're advocating. They're already up there. Look at Hana.
Yes.
An incredible young wahine.
Yeah.
And her reo, everything else. Look at Nawai, Queenie Nawai.
Yes.
You know, they are foraging the future. I know. My job is not to lead anymore. My job is to get behind them and beside them. Yep. And awhi them through because they're our future.
That is so true and so beautiful. So on closing, is there anything I haven't asked you today that you wished I had?
Oh, I don't know. I guess, you know, I wish as Takatāpui we could have a village together. I would love us to age among our whānau and friends. My trans wahine tāne friends, my, you know, whaafawhine, whaafaleiti. You know, I would love our wahine tāne. I don't want to separate from them.
No.
You know, we could share our own cultural things. We could have our own hangi when we want. But, you know, and we care for each other. There's a different way that we do it, you know. Because I know as we're aging and care budgets are starting when you're at a certain age, I'm not going into a home. Hell no.
No.
Unless it's Takatāpui and my wife is with me and we can still come and go and do our thing. If we could do that, that would be my piece.
I love that. That's exactly what we need for us. We do. And
we do.
How special was today. I'm probably not going to sleep now. I've been so excited to have met you.
I'm wired.
Oh, yes, same. And thank you so much for sharing everything. It's been, I've gone through the full gamut of emotions. I really
Before and after.
Yes. Ngā mihi kia koe.